All right, rough drafts time. Oh man, I'm so excited. This week for our rough drafts, we are jumping into one of the best limited formats of all time. It's Halloween season, which means Innistrad, triple Innistrad flashbacks on Magic Online. So fingers crossed we open a Liliana. Barring that, if we don't get a Liliana, at least we can do some really sweet stuff because the format is super, super fun. So let's take a look at this pack and see what we got going on. So rare is Dearly Departed. I mean, it's fine. It's not really a bomb, but it's okay. Mask of Avacyn, Rage Thrower. Spectral Rider, nothing super exciting in our rare slot. Stitched Drake is a pretty solid card. Good flyer for its size, pretty easy to stock up the graveyard. Otherwise, there's not a lot in this pack, honestly. It's not a exciting pack for the format. We might just take the Stitch Drake. I'm not overly excited for Dearly Departed. Spectral Rider is fine. I think, yeah, let's just take Stitch Drake and see where we end up. So Stitch Drake obviously works best with graveyard filling cards. For example, Armored Scob. Pretty good way to get some cards in our graveyard. Boneyard Worm is a good payoff if we get a lot of cards in our graveyard. Intangible Virtue, kind of medium at the moment. There's no Lingering Souls in Innistrad, so nothing that crazy. Blazing Torch is okay. It's actually not bad. There was a Mulch in the last pack too. That's a card that we could imagine coming back around and being pretty good. I think we're just going to take Armored Scob since we took Stitch Drake. And yeah, I think we're going to go with that. It's a good way to fill our graveyard for our Scob. Well, there's a Curse of Bloody Tome. Can go on the mill plan. I mean, if we have enough of these, it will mill our opponent out. Rebuke is from removal, another Spectral Rider. Gnaw to the Bone can actually be pretty good if we get a heavy enough graveyard theme deck, can gain a lot of life. Ghostly Possessions, kind of second-rate removal. This is actually a pretty awkward pack for us. Lantern Spirit is not super exciting. It's the only, well, I guess there's the Curse. I don't really want to pick Curse here. I mean, it can work. We could try to be Mill. All right, let's say Curse, whatever. Maybe we can be the Mill deck. We'll see. We'll see. We could also just end up not playing it, and that would be fine as well. In this pack, a couple of okay white cards. Rune Chanter's Pike is good in the right build. Sharpened Pitchfork, better if you have humans, or kind of only good if you have humans. Deadweight is an okay removal spell, if we want to reach into another color. Not much as far as blue cards in this pack. Not much as far as graveyard synergies behind Rune Chanter's Pike. The question is, how many instants or sorceries will we have to get in the graveyard? If we're milling ourselves, this does get better. And it is a fast clock on a Stitch Drake. We don't have spells yet, but hopefully we find some. Let's take the Pike. I think that's fine. It is a good way to steal some games with the Stitch Drake. So right now, we're not in any super strong archetype. Another Intangible Virtue. Another Gnaw to the Bone. Deranged Assistant does fill our graveyard. And kind of does a bit of ramping. We might just take that. It's not super insanely exciting, but it's fine. Back from the Brink is I mean, it can be good. It works well with our graveyard filling plan if that's the direction we're going, is like a finisher. It is fairly easy to remove, though. We'll probably get more Deranged Assistance. Maybe we just take this as our like late game finisher if we're going to be self-milling. All right, let's do that. Take Back from the Brink. Oh boy. Now there is just stone nothing in our colors. So many white cards. Avacyn's Priest is probably the best card in this pack. So I think we're going to take it. I don't know if we end up in white. We could be like white-blue flyers, I guess. Not an exciting archetype. Sensory Deprivation is actually a pretty good card in this format. Blue Swords to Plowshares. And we're in blue, so let's take it. So far, not super excited about where we're at. We're kind of floundering in this mono blue graveyardy area. Not that it can't work. Okay, Claustrophobia. We'll take that. More removal. These cards do work well if we end up... I mean, I feel like right now our most likely outcome is going to be as a mill deck. I feel like that's our our most likely endpoint. But we don't have that much mill yet, so we'll have to see. But I think that's possible. We have some good defense, good blockers. Pike could let us go aggressive, although we have 0 instants or sorceries right now, which might mean we don't really end up playing this. We'll have to see if we can find some spells. And then Curse, I guess, right now is kind of our finisher, along with Back from the Brink. In this pack, Stitcher's Apprentice isn't super exciting. Frightful Illusion, kind of hit or miss. We could take Mulch for graveyard filling. Oh, we might just take that. It is a way to get cards in our graveyard, and we are pretty graveyard sent. Ooh, okay. Well, there's a Boneyard Worm. So maybe we're going to end up blue-green graveyard after all. We could take another Mulch. 1, 2, 3. But I think we'd rather just take the Boneyard Worm here. Typhoid Rats is actually a pretty good card. I guess we can take Woodland Sleuth. I don't know if we end up playing it. Take the green card. It seems like we're in blue-green, possibly with a bit of white thrown in. That's, ooh, all right, there's the Range Assistant. Not a bad card to get essentially last pick. Good news is it feels like people are not particularly focused on graveyard synergies. Like, we got a lot of reasonable graveyard fillers pretty late in this pack, which is a pretty good sign. Because if we're like the only person that's going towards these graveyard synergies and can get a bunch of Stitch Drakes and so forth, various Scobs, then our deck should be pretty good. Runechanter's Pike, Part 2. Morka Banshee is solid. Forbidden Alchemy, good way to fill the graveyard. Spider's kind of mediocre. Mystic can actually be pretty good. I mean, a Grizzly Bear that gets better as the game goes along. I do like Forbidden Alchemy. The question's if we're going to go to those colors. Bitterheart Witch, not where we want to be. Banshee is probably the best card in this pack, which might be... but we're heading towards green. It's a hard card to splash. Forbidden Alchemy is a much easier splash card. Yeah, let's take Alchemy. It's a way we can get cards in our graveyard, which is good. Maybe find some answers. Hopefully we get some more graveyard payoffs. That is what we need most of all here, is just more graveyard payoffs. Oh, well, speaking of graveyard payoffs, Kessage Cagebreaker is very much graveyard payoff. Whenever it attacks, you create a 2/2 green wolf token that's tapped and attacking for each creature in your graveyard. So basically, we mill a bunch of creatures, we attack with this, our opponent dies. I think that is... I mean, Grizzled Outcast is fine. Boar is okay. No blue cards. I think this is very clearly what we're looking for. Like, we're pretty much going down the blue-green graveyard path now. That's pretty much where we're at. Probably splashing a little bit of black for our Forbidden Alchemy. Well, we got options. We can take a second Forbidden Alchemy. We can take an Armored Scob. I think those are our two best choices. Armored Scob is probably more important to our deck at this point. Because if you notice, a lot of our payoffs say creatures in the graveyard. So we need not only the ability to get cards in our graveyard, but we need those cards to be creatures for Cage Breakers, for Boneyard Worm. So as much as I love Forbidden Alchemy, I think that a creature that puts cards in the graveyard is just better for what we're trying to do with this deck. So far, this deck looks reasonable-ish. This pack, Dream Twist is a pretty good mill card. I don't know if milling is still going to be part of our plan. Parallel Lives is kind of hilarious with Cage Breakers. Dissipate is a fine counterspell if we want a counterspell. Make-A-Wish is kind of so-so. I'm assuming Dream Twist is going to come back around. Man, this is actually kind of hilarious with Back from the Brink, too. Can we actually play Parallel Lives? Is it possible? It only works with 2 cards in our deck right now. We probably should just take, like, Grizzled Outcasts or Dissipate. Let's take Dissipate. Ooh, another Dream Twist. That's actually pretty sweet. Another Dream Twist... If they both table, that increases the chances that we're going to be the mill deck. Villagers of Vesterwald is actually really good. 2/3 for 3, flips around into 4/6. One of the better werewolves. We're getting a little overloaded in the 3-drop slot, but I think that's fine. We have seen a lot of Curse of Stalk Praise going around the table. Someone's going to have a really aggressive red deck. Ironsmith is alright. I think we just take Hamlet Captain. We would rather have a 2-drop over the Orchard Spirit. Ooh, alright. Well, more 3-drops, but Battleground Geist is fine. Sheffet Occultist is actually a decent mill card if there's a chance we're still going to just audible into the mill kill. But Stitch Drake, I think, has got to be our pick here. It's just such a good threat. Endless Ranks of the Dead. I don't think we can play that. We don't have enough zombies to make it work. Feeling of Dread is not unplayable. Not something we're going to play in this deck, but we already have a Ranger's Guile. Fortress Crab is okay. If we end up, I'm going to take Fortress Crab over Bramble Crush, mostly because if we do somehow end up heading towards the mill plan, then Fortress Crab is going to be an awesome addition to our deck because it's so good at stalling out the game. Not sure about Morbid Spider, not sure about Caravan Vigil either. I guess it does help with our splash of mana for our Forbidden Alchemy. We'll take Spider, I guess. Now we get Gnawed of the Bone. Oh, we kind of do want one of those. If not in the main, then the sideboard. I don't think we want Wreath of Geist. Let's take Gnawed of the Bone. I don't know if we'll start with it in the main, but here we'll just take a Naturalize for the sideboard. There's a Dream Twist. Dream Twist. Ooh, alright, Ghoul Caller's Bell. Random stuff. Well, let's see what we open. We're kind of walking the line between the ability to just be blue-green graveyard and be a mill deck. We have some of the pieces that could let us go for the mill plan. So that's what we mostly got to decide, is if we're going to be playing like Curse, Dream Twist, Ghoul Caller's Bell, or if our focus is going to be more on getting creatures in our graveyard and winning that way. This pack, we get a foil rare. It's a Crackling counterpart, which is not super exciting. Grasp of Phantasms is a good removal spell. Gust of Shepherd is actually a pretty good 2-drop. It's pretty easy to flip and just kill someone with this card. Grasp is pretty good. I think we're going to take Shepherd, though. Shepherd is just a premium 2-drop. Cackling Counterpart's not that good. Victim of Night is a fine removal spell, although there are a lot of things that it doesn't hit. Let's take Shepherd. Undead Alchemist. If a zombie you control would deal combat damage to a player, instead that player puts that many cards from the top of his library into the graveyard. Whenever a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard from their library, exile that card and create a 2/2 zombie. That does some milling, and it can be a finisher. It's a little fragile as a 4/2. There's also Silent Departure, which is very good. We have essentially 0 removal right now. This would make our random mill cards a lot better if we do go that direction. Or we just take Silent Departure. Pitchfork is okay. We don't have that many humans. Would like another Forbidden Alchemy. Grizzled Outcast is pretty good. I think we're just going to take Alchemist. Oh, Burning Vengeance. I think it's too late. Like, we needed to open this earlier if we want to go on the Burning Vengeance plan. Burning Vengeance is one of the most fun archetypes to play in this format. Dark Thicket Wolf is another solid 2-drop. Makeshift Mauler is another graveyard payoff. We might just take the 4/5 for 4. We have a decent amount of ways to get stuff in our graveyard. Alright, we're going to take... Actually, we're going to take Silent Departure. Hope that maybe... some of the other stuff tables. Oh, it's a second Curse of the Bloody Tome. Hopefully that comes back around. There's another Armored Scob. Hopefully that comes back around. I think we're just going to take Boneyard Worm here. Yeah, let's take Boneyard. Oh, there it is. There's Splinter Fright. All right, that's another great payoff. We are in the place where we want to be. Splinter Fright is like Boneyard Word, but much better. It mills us to fuel itself. Power and toughness equal to the creatures in our graveyard. That is exactly the kind of card we're looking for. All right, so mill plan is not happening. We just want to make sure that we have as many creatures as possible to get in our graveyard while still having enough removal that we don't just die. But that's our plan. Fill our graveyard with creatures for Boneyard Worms, for Splinter Frights, which can be really huge for their mana cost. And then I guess Back from the Brink is kind of our finisher. I'm not unhappy with where we're at, actually. Wouldn't mind another early game graveyard filler, like another Mulch or something, maybe. Ooh, Silent Departure. We probably just got to take the second Silent Departure. Slayer of the Wicked is a good uncommon. Chapelgeist is actually pretty good too. Feeling of Dread, underrated, as is Nightbird's Clutches. But we're just going to take another Silent Departure. Well, I'm pretty happy with how this deck shaped up. There's some little things we can change. Not sure. Oh, there we go. Armored Scob coming back. That's exactly the kind of card we want in this deck. Just fill in our graveyard, getting creatures in there for Splinter Frights and whatnot. And then we can always kind of pseudo-reanimate with the help of Back from the Brink. Ghoul Caller's Bell for the mill plan. I don't think we have enough werewolves for this. This gets back Silent Departure. I think we're going to just take Shimmering Grotto to flashback our Forbidden Alchemy. Well, Grasp of Phantasms is a very good addition to our deck. Now we got to figure out what we're cutting. I think it might be Dissipate. It's going to be hard to cut creatures. Although, oh my goodness, everything's coming back around. I think it's another Silent Departure. I don't know if we can take another... We have so much self-mill. Scob, 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 Splinter Fright. I'm actually getting to the point where I'm nervous about milling too much of our stuff. So let's just take Silent Departure. This is really good because it's a card we don't mind milling over. It's like, it doesn't look that powerful. But the fact that you can cast it twice is really strong, as is the fact, oh, when the Mauler comes back, man, the Burning Vengeance. No one's in the Burning Vengeance deck. We still don't have enough to make it work, though. Wow, what are we cutting to make this work? Probably Undead Alchemist with how things have shaken out. Silent Departures, Deranged Assistance. How many graveyard fillers? This fills the graveyard, this fills the graveyard. We'll take the other curse. We could sideboard into the curse plan if we wanted to in the right matchup. We could actually sideboard into a semi-reasonable mill deck. What are we cutting? We have to cut 2 cards. Maybe 4. I really don't want to cut creatures if we can help it. I think Curse of Oblivion is a better sideboard card. Especially if we end up milling, it could be relevant. Okay. So how do we cut down 2 cards to get to 23? That's the question. So creature-wise, let's move our creatures down here. Creatures, creatures, creatures. Creatures, creatures. Alright. So our spell base is not bad. This fills graveyard. I think I want to keep the Back from the Brink. A bit of removal. I guess there's an argument to dumping Forbidden Alchemy or Mulch. How many ways? Let's see. This fills the graveyard. Deranged Assistant. 3 Scobs fill the graveyard. I think we might need Mulch just to support our Drakes on turn 3. We want our creature count high. I guess we could dump Forbidden Alchemy if we had to, or Claustrophobia. Do we have enough ways to fill our graveyard without Forbidden Alchemy? That's the big question. If we were going to cut a creature, it's probably just Fortress Crab. Maybe we can, let's cut Fortress Crab. That leaves us with 15 creatures. Oh man, I love Forbidden Alchemy. Maybe we just dump Claustrophobia and trust our graveyard spells will be enough. Let's try it like that. I think that looks reasonable. We'll go 10-6 and then add the Shimmering Grotto, and that'll be our way to flashback our Forbidden Alchemy. I think that looks fine. Let's save it like that. And yeah, be back with round number 1 of our green-blue graveyard, non-spider spawning, unfortunately, Innistrad Flashback Draft. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, take a second and click that like button down below. It's a great way to help support the channel for free. And you can find the next video in the playlist right here.